Hey everybody, what up? Scuff D here, and we're back so soon, so soon. I think literally as I was editing and uploading the Medusan deck video, the balance changes went live. There's been a new update. There's been a new patch. Some very interesting stuff. Oh, so much interesting, good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's do it. But first, free crate. Yeah. Get that gold. Get them gems. Get that gold and get them gems. Okay. So I'm gonna be taking a look up here at my Discord on my tablet, and then I'm gonna kind of go through and take a look at the cards as we see them now. Get ready for it, okay? Because there's some interesting stuff here, and some of this stuff has been asked for. Some of this kind of comes unasked for. Throw that out over here. Let's get into the neutrals first. Neutrals are first listed out. This is gonna. You guys asked for it. You guys, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. This is what you get. Ambassador Melgator is adjusted. I'm going to say adjusted. He has not been nerfed. I don't see this as a nerf. I see this as a door swings both ways situation. It is both a adjustment negatively and positively to his ability. And this is going to kind of snowball with some other stuff that we're going to see down the road. So Ambassador Melgator now has a rally, return a troop of 4 less attack to hand. He no longer just returns any infantry or Astartes. This is not a bad thing. First off, it's a troop. That means that once again he is able to return vehicles and demons. But with the addition of Custodes to the table, he can also return them to the table. With 4 less attack in hand is the conditional, right? So that's conditional. Late game against the 7 or 8 drop troops, you're not going to be able to use him effectively, which is both a positive and a negative for so many reasons, so many factions. However, for myself personally, I was running him maybe 50% of my decks. I'm going to include him back into a 90%, maybe an 85% ratio of decks as far as his ability to bounce early game, mid game, very important. Let's take a look at some of the cards that he can return. I mean, just here we are. Just through his faction here, he can once again return Shield Generator, which is very problematic and unfortunate for Bolvi, for 6 Latara builds. Sorry, your reliance on Shield Generator has been shattered once again. He can return the Time Melta Bomb. He can return your vehicles. Sorry, unless you're pumping them up with Proctor, these guys here are subjective to being returned by Melgator. Even your Skitarii Protector, who's an infantry, but I mean he's we'll get to, let's not just like his stat went from a 5/5 to a 4/5. He was a 4/5 for a long time, shot up to a 5/5 for a month, and now he's back down to a 4/5. And guess what? He is also now returnable by Melgator. Now you'll note these higher guys here, obviously. Oh, look, 7 attack, 7 attack. We're not going to talk about Felix Cohort, Doombringer, Volturax. These guys are high. You wouldn't return them normally with Melgator anyways because they're a continued threat. So you're not losing anything out on there. However, he's still able to target all these wonderful infantry. But in addition to that, he's got the ability to target the structures and the vehicles as well. So the Draconian Transport, I guess Missile Battery, Helios Mortar Carrier, Command Post, very important. He can now bounce a Command Post structure back to your opponent's hand, so it can delay your opponent's ability to use any sort of Command Post buffs ongoing. And we're just looking at the neutral stuff here. This is just the neutral stuff, okay? Demons. Let's talk about the demons. What demons can he return? Well, a lot of people might say, yeah, that's not so big, Nurglings and Battleflies, but Beasts of Fyra are bounceable, and that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because at the same time it takes Beasts of Fyra down a peg, but it makes Melgator very useful for just that reason. He can also return Changers for just that reason. He's got a lot of options, right? And that's just the neutral card pool. We're not taking a look at here in terms of the legendaries, but just for one example, let's go into the legendaries of the World Eaters, who, like this Argus Brawn, he's still bounceable. Unless you deploy him and hit him with a strike and fade and make his attack 8, and then he's not bounceable, but then you've also lowered his health to 5, and then maybe he's susceptible to some damage from your opponent on their turn. So the tactics employed there haven't changed much. A lot of people who asked for Melgator to be changed. Oh, let's look at the Custodes. Let's look at the Custodes. Let's see where the demarcation line is, where he can bounce things. So you got F4 Squad, which they're stealth, so you wouldn't be able to get them anyways. And then you get into about the 5 cost options, really where you can't bounce any of these big fat guys, right? Okay. I mean, at that point, hopefully you've got some stuff opted out for the game, but the Lentum Knights, Mikhailor, even possibly an Ares Guard or a Diocletian, those you're going to be able to return Custodes troops. So people wanted this. They wanted him to be changed for whatever reason. He was just still too much of a threat, and now he is still going to be the same level of threat from early to mid game to make a big enough a difference, right? He's still going to be able to do what he did before. Late game, depending on what's on the board, is where he might be limited. If your opponent has got all their big heavy stuff and they don't have anything light or mild down on the table at that point, then his usefulness is gone. For your opponent, you can still use him to return your stuff, so long as it's got 4 or less attack to your hand. So you've got some things that you could do. I just did Medusan, right? I just talked about a Medusan deck here, and you can take a look. That's in the previous video. But let's just say we use Vorax, right? We've got, let's just say we've got, throw down Vorax, and he flanks, and Medusan pays 1 energy and uses him to do 6 attack, right? 3 and 3 with sneak attack. And then I pay 2 more energy to use Melgator and pick Vorax up if I feel like he might still be useful or he's in a position to a threat, right? So then that is 7 energy. It's a 7 energy combo, but I've done 6 damage, and I've returned Vorax to my hand to be able to do 6 more flanking damage on my next turn. It's an unconventional strategy, but it's just one of many that is going to allow Melgator to be possibly more popular than he was before the nerf. This is what you wanted. You asked for this. I'm of the mind of certain things just need to be let live, and the more options we provide into the game with other cards and other card pools, eventually people just have to make hard cuts, and they have to say some things have got to go. But when you keep a card relevant by adjusting it and changing it, it keeps circulating within the meta, and I think this is a prime example. We're going to get to another warlord down the road, and I'll tie into a couple other things here that I think make this guy really powerful. He's still just as powerful against these legions here. He's still going to put the big hurt on a lot of the salamanders early and mid game, which is really where they have their stuff, so they don't gain anything out of it. The Iron Legion, the Iron Warriors, guess what? They're not really losing anything necessarily. I think the biggest thing might be you cannot bounce an Iron Havoc squad, so Forex might actually see some play. He might see some adjustment there. But a lot of these bigger, higher guys with either vehicles where you weren't able to target them for the longest time with Melgator anyways, or they've got a rally effect, so it's of very little use. Alpha Legion has got rally stuff, so you don't even want to return them to your hand most of the time. Space Wolves have got a variety of ward, so they're very ignoring to that. You don't need to worry about that, but you can toss up their Rhino now if you want. You can still get, the Long Fangs bounced up there if you want. And again, most of these other guys who've got the 5 attack also have ward, and they've also got 5. I think the exception being Odin Command Squad, which you may or may not see. So, not really affected there, right? Iron Hands, we've talked about to some degree. I think they're still, if they can get up and above that 4 attack range, right? They're immune, but all their guys have got to spend a turn or two down on the lower levels to get there. The exception is going to be you cannot bounce Bargus, you cannot bounce Kagos, making these guys a 2 of Kagos, especially in a deck. Iron Father, now maybe even a 2 of, I don't know, I mean, we'll see, but instant stat buffs, and aside from hard removal, their healthy 6 attack is going to require a lot of effort to get rid of them. However, all their early game troops are still very susceptible. Their mid game stuff, not great. Rapier Laser, still not an option, because guess what? That's bounceable by Melgator. Ralph Squad, still bounceable. Let's go take a look at, am I running out of things to take a look at? I think so. I think we've done enough. I think we've done enough to kind of just show, like, Melgator is still going to be useful. He's still going to be very useful, and I think he's going to frustrate more people more so than ever, because they're going to think that they've got this reliance, and they just were building up the ability to use their vehicles or demons. You wanted him changed, and this is what you got. So I would say this is a really big change, and this is just the first. When we talked about Skitarii Protector, that was a basic change, just a one down from where he was at before. So nothing big there, right? Now, when we did scroll past here, which you might not have caught, was the Ogrins, the Forced Ogrins? Forced Ogrins. Horus Ogrins. I don't know how you pronounce it. These guys were a 5/6 before. Now they're a 4/6, but they've got gain +1/+0 when your warlord is damaged. And this is really odd. This kind of comes odd. Well, first off, this ability means that their stat adjustment, I think the reason they have the stat adjustment is because the game wants to keep them, the devs want to keep them initially bounceable for Melgator, right? Initially, you can still bounce the Ogrins out, unless your opponent drops an Ogrins and then attacks with your warlord and then makes them a 5/6, but there's a couple things I've got here. So first off, these guys can get stronger. Very similar to the Ogrin Sergeant, right? Who gains +1/+1. But he doesn't have frontline. So that's interesting. Okay. But what I've got a question with is these guys here are the only ones, like when you play an Ornitov's Barge, you get one of 6 different troops, right? You get these are the early Imperial troops, and all of them are without their stat. They just have frontline, right? You get this guy, you get this guy, or you get this guy, or you get this guy, or you get did I scroll past them already? No. Or you get these guys. You might randomly get these guys without their rally effect. They just are a 3/2 frontline. And then if you're really, 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 really lucky, you get yourself an Ogrin with frontline. My question is it possible for you to, and this, I think this is just playtesting, is going to have to find out if this is actually how the game works now. If you get 2 or 3 of these guys, high-rolled Ogrins from your Ornitov's Barge, do they have this passive on there? Or do they know, or are they just without text as well? Or are they not summonable from the barge anymore, because all the other guys that we've seen don't have stats. Does it make barge a better card? I don't know, because technically these guys lose a stat, so they're not a 5/6, they're a 4/6, and then you have to attack with your warlord to make them a 5/6. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. That time is going to tell how this plays out, but it's very interesting to me. Another card that has seen some adjustment, and this actually comes out of the Prospero expansion, so this is a relatively new card, is Volturax. And we kind of touched base on Volturax in my Medusan video. There it is. And I said I would expect to some degree him to be adjusted, and he received his backlashes now deal 3 damage to adjacent units as opposed to 2 damage, which is kind of severe depending on where you place him. If you're placing him next to other troops, if you're placing him next to your warlord, you just have to be prepared to take that 3 damage. But I don't think this is the last we're going to see of this. I do expect Volturax play to drop a little bit, but I think he's still going to get played. And I think down the road we may still see some stat adjustments to him. But for the time being, this is a decent deterrent from throwing him down next to certain other troops. Or if you've got a lot of other troops, you might want to reconsider 2 Volturaxes in your deck and maybe just go with the one as like a late game pinch play. So he's seen some adjustment. Now a very, very big change, and I've got mixed emotions on it. I think ultimately it's a very good change. Is Oh, that's right, it's an Imperial card. Catacombs of Tizca no longer is applied or can be applied to any unit. This is very big. This is very big because it was an interesting card in terms of giving precognition to a friendly unit. You could basically duck out of taking direct damage for any warlord, and which is primarily where a lot of people were using it with, especially solo warlords who needed to have like 1 extra turn of survival play, or warlords who kind of run light on troops or who take a lot of burnt damage from the get-go. Alfarius, even Magnus, Horus, some of those decks, I don't want to say got popular or got better, but it was a very good, useful tool. Canis Vertex, which I did think was kind of weird, but Canis Vertex was able to use the precognition effect either on the head or the shoulder mount or the fist if it so chose to, basically like kind of like stuffing its body into the catacombs to hide out for a turn. It's a very big tool that Canis Vertex lost. Mortarion was able to use that in conjunction with Death Cloud and basically kill everything, take no attack damage. He now has got to kind of rely on the 1 extra cost and slightly conditional silent death. It's still very good, depending on what how you play it and how your opponent is throwing out things on the thing, but it's not as effective. But I do think that it was an important change because Catacombs of Tizca, for its cost for what it did, was too strong. I think if they made it a 4-cost card and gave it the same ability, and you could put precognition on your warlord, you're giving up a lot more, especially late game. It limits you from throwing out too many cards. That would have been okay, but for a 2-cost as a common, maybe down the road they'll make a 4-cost rare or epic that does that, where you can just apply it straight to your warlord. But for now, as a 2-cost common, it was very powerful. And it was probably too powerful, and I think it's a smart move. So I have mixed bags. It was nice to see certain decks, especially like the Mortarion deck. Ingo Peck made ample use and kind of desperate use of it. Not that Ingo Peck is getting a whole lot of play, but it was a very good tool for Ingo Peck. Now it's not. It's sorry, you're gonna have to find other ways to duck out of combat, buddy. So it's sad to see it go. It can still be useful, but just play Ahriman. I mean, honestly, if there's some troops that you want to keep alive, unless they're Legion specific, just play Ahriman and go that route. How about that, buddy? How about that? Guess what? Turn 3, turn 2, free Jubok, who is not attackable. How about that? Just do that. Everybody's happy. So those are your neutrals. Those are your neutral changes. Now, the second wave of focus really for this change was on the Emperor's Children faction as a whole, and I gotta say, I really enjoy these changes as well. So, first off and foremost, Fulgrim still the same, right? Still 2 energy, adds a random Emperor's Children tactic to your hand. His initiative is medium. You're not gaining anything there. However, his Whispers effect has been changed finally, because it was just before it was stupid. Fulgrim is blessed by chaos -1 cost when you trigger perfection, period. Before it had to be perfection from a tactic, which there's just no way that Fulgrim would play a deck, let alone be able to have the time to play 8 perfection tactics, especially considering the fact that most of the perfection tactics are are boost to troops. It was just bad. It was bad. It was just not. Once they changed his Whispers to that, he was never getting his Whispers off. Now he can. So we will be seeing Demon Prince Fulgrim. I don't know how often we will. He still has to have 8 triggers of perfection. That's not impossible. That's really not impossible to do. So many of the early and mid-game troops, I mean, perfection. Perfection. I mean, just take a look at the symbols. Perfection. Perfection. This will help you with perfection, but it's not perfection. 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 These guys just go up. You don't have to bump him. Just give him perfection. You know? I mean, I know I've tapped on more than 8 cards already. And not all of them are good, but there you go. There you go. So we're going to see that. We're going to see that. And I mean, he's got a really strong, nasty ability. Once he gets to that demon form, you've got to have stuff on board and being able to deal more 3 health, because he's either killing your units and gaining health, or he's just swinging 6. Basically, you lose 3, he gains 3. That's a huge swing late game. It's a little interesting when you get into mirror match Demon Prince Fulgrim games, but them's the breaks. So Fulgrim, big change. Now another one that changed here, and I really want to try this out, Odysseus Squad. Now these guys used to be a 6/4 with the Battle Honor draw card. They still have the same Battle Honor, however now they have flank, and they are 5/4. This is the first flank upgrade that we are seeing to the first 4 legions. Flank flank emerged with the second set, Istvan 5, with the Iron Hands and Raven Guard. And Raven Guard really more than anything exploited flank, and that's really where it emerged. But Sons of Horus, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, and Death Guard did not have access to flank. In order for them to use flank, they have to use the neutrals. They now have got a decent beefy flank who can also net you a card if he survives, if you're using him right. That's not bad. Now his 5 cost, but you know what? Given the fact that it's Emperor's Children and you have the ability to reduce cost, or bring him out for 3 with a tactical balance if you really wanted to, and he's giving you a card for playing him, that's not bad. That's not bad. He's got a 5 attack, and you could buff him up if you really wanted to. If you played him on an 8 energy curve, you could make him a 7/6 if you happen to throw out Unbreakable Focus. So I'm really looking forward to trying this guy out in a couple decks. Very interesting. I think that's a good upgrade. I always liked the idea of that card, but it never worked out. It never worked out because his 4 health just saw him killed before you ever could use him, or you had to use his 6 attack on something that was going to kill him anyways, and you would never get his battle honor. However, with the flank now, you have a little bit more ability to decide how you're going to properly use him and benefit from him. So I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, here's a card that Melgator can return now. Just throwing that out there. I mean, this is what you wanted. You get some. With one hand we give, with the other hand we take. We are ever guild. I don't know. That's maybe a little bit too mocking, but you'll see. I'm not. I feel like I'm coming off like an asshole, and I don't want to be. I think they should have just left Melgator alone. I think people should have just moved on, but yeah, we'll see where we go from here. Sardarian also gains a perfection ability. Now his battle honor remained the same with his shield, but now he's got perfection gain a shield. So if you drop this guy with 7 energy, you've got a 6/8 who has a shield, who can very well keep a shield, and basically just be a nasty, nasty boy, which actually makes for a very interesting choice between Thodarian and Sardarian. I mean, technically, Thodarian is nice. Perfection, he's an 8/8 vehicle, right? He's an 8/8 vehicle, and if you've got Relinor out, he can be a 10/10. Boom! That's crazy. But Sardarian is a 6/8 with a shield, and if Rilinor's out, he can be an 8/10 with a shield, and 8 is going to probably give him the ability to keep that shield for a long time. And because he's got a 6 attack, he is immune naturally to Melgator. So is Thodarian, but Thodarian can be destroyed by a Melt Bomb or anything that just destroys a troop is going to get both of them. But I'm just kind of indicating some options there as far as rarity. Thodarian can take some hits from your opponent on the next turn if they really want to dive into it with flanking units or fast units, coupled with attacks where Sardarian has got that shield. And that shield can make the difference sometimes in longevity. So I like that upgrade. I might squeeze in one of these guys because that is really cool to see. Finally, outside of an event deck, these guys might see play. Another card here that we bypassed, Discipline. And I have asked for this option here, heal 2 tier warlord for every enemy. It used to be just heal 1, which was terribly, terribly overcosted and underperformed. Now you've got the ability to heal 2 and also heal 2 to your troops for every enemy. So just on your own face-to-face value, if you're playing against your opponent, your Fulgrim, and let's say the course of your Fulgrim game, you generate one of these, you could very well use Discipline now, and if your opponent's got 3 people on the table, you're going to heal 6. And that's a big heal. That is a big heal, and that's just for 3. And they could not be strong troops. They could be very light troops, that you could deal with. Take 2, heal 6, kill 1, have 2 left, and then you've also got other troops out there that you've played perhaps because you've played Discipline or you played Perfection. Or maybe you haven't played Perfection. You don't have to have Perfection to get that off. It makes this card good. I like it. Is it going to be included in every deck? No. Is it includable for Lucius? Possibly. Very much so. One thing to note, and this is big, and I think a very good thing, if you play Discipline against a Canis Vertex, you are healing 10 to your Warlord for 4 energy. That's if it's a fully intact Canis Vertex. So keep that in mind. Very good, especially given the fact that Canis Vertex is still in the shop. You will see a spike in Canis Vertex play. Consider some things to fight against him. Having a Discipline in hand, not a bad thing. Healing for 10? Okay. And then last, but certainly not least, Eidolon. Now, I gotta say, I hate this guy. I just do. I fucking hate this guy. I hate his character. I just hate him. I hate, I hate. Oh, I just hate so much. I hate Erebus and I hate Eidolon. And, that's probably, I can't think of too many other characters that I legit detest. But those two guys. So, he is no longer a 9/9, he's a 9/8. But check it out. He has a rally effect if he hits perfection, which is not hard to do at all. Finally, he has a perfection stun the enemy warlord. And that's not huge. That's not huge, right? But a stun is a stun. And the fact that you've got perfection, it gives an additional tool for late game Fulgrim, if Fulgrim wants to include Eidolon, if he hasn't already played Pride of the Emperor. It gives Eidolon the ability to see play. Eidolon, the biggest things keeping Eidolon out of play was the fact that he had 0 rally effect when he hit the board, and Melgator, right? Well, Melgator is no longer a factor implied in there, and in addition to that, he gets a double swing of that rally. Now, stunning the enemy warlord, is that going to make or break it? Depends on the matchup. If you're stunning Russ, fuck, because that energy is probably the turn that Russ is going to combo pack attack and win the game, and you just rumple stomp that. If you're stunning Angron, he's probably not too thrilled about that, especially given the fact that it's very possible that he's already used his stun removals to recover from Eidichin squad. Not a guarantee, and very well at the same time he could use Conqueror and clear the board. But stunning anything is always good, especially if it's like wow, you could stun Kurz. Keep him after Kurz goes into madness, so Kurz is doing his shadowy thing. He doesn't have to be targeted, he just stuns him. Boom. You come out of your stealth, you can't go back into stealth because you're stunned, and you're going to take 9. This is the linchpin against that game right there, that matchup. So very, very good upgrade to Eidolon. It's not great, it doesn't need to be. It's very simple, but very good, and that opens up a lot of potential there. So that's the Emperor's Children, and I think those are very specific, but very, very good upgrades, especially again considering Eidolon, Sardarian, and yes, even Eudicius. Now, granted, I don't think Eudicius would want to be Melgator, or your opponent would want to Melgator him, but they can't. They can't Melgator those guys. These are all unmelgatorable troops that have gotten some nice, tasty treats. They can't Melgator Noise Marine. Can't Melgator that Agamenon. Oh, but you can do that guy. Meh. All right. Which does throw out a factor there as far as there's a little bit of a risk if you play Tactical Brilliance with Rillinor and bring out Rillinor too early, and then you bring him out at 4, and then they just Melgator him. You've blown a little bit of advantage, but guess what? You can still do it again. So, whatevs. Okay. So, neutrals, Emperor's Children, upgrades. Now we're going to take a look at 2 warlords who have specifically seen upgrades, but their legion has not. And this has been changed from the initial announcement. Shabran Darr initially had 35 health. Now he's back down to 30 health. Again, when damaged in combat, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. His ability is still deal 1 damage to the enemy warlord and 2 to adjacent units. So this, when damaged in combat, was for about an hour rage, which is basically rage, deal 1 damage to random enemy. So whenever he took damage, what that led to very quickly, people realizing, or at least every guild realizing, is in the mirror match, Darr versus Darr, my rage triggers and I deal damage to you, and then your rage triggers and you deal damage to me, and we go back and forth, and the next thing you know, we're down to 0 health in turn 1, and basically whoever it was who dealt damage first is the one who wins the game on that. So they've changed that. It's an interesting passive. It's a very lackluster passive. Because he can still take damage from tactics, and it's not going to do anything. And he has 5 less health. So before, with the idea of him having rage, my leg's falling asleep. With the idea of him having rage, he was able to compensate by that by dealing damage every time he took damage. Well, it's very possible that you can take damage from like a Mandrago Rax, a Loken, Tarvitz, Tarek, Korax, anybody who's just straight scratching or shooting you. That's not combat damage, so you're just taking damage for free, and you've lost 5 health. I expect some of this to be somewhat walked back. It's very possible he might regain his 35 health again. It's not great. The idea is there, and I mean, I think if they changed it to deal 2 damage to a random enemy when he is damaged in combat, that would be interesting, and maybe compensate for the 30 health, but I think the 35 health is a smarter choice, especially given the fact that his World Eater troop options early game are light. He's got Macer Varen now. People can play Macer Varen. No one's gonna play Macer Varen. You're not gonna. You're gonna see. You're gonna see this SOB. You're gonna see this SOB drinking beers and giving stunners is what you're gonna see, son. You're gonna see that a lot more than you're gonna see Macer Varen played, let alone getting pumped up. So, but regardless, all that being said, it is a little lackluster. I think if they would just have the rage where he was initially, I think that would have been good. But again, it was problematic for the mirror match. So yeah, it's not done. I think somehow they'll do a little walk back, and we'll see some change there. But it's not perfect. It's a step in the right direction, but it's also a step sideways. So we didn't quite make any progress. We'll come back to him, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll see him again at a later date. There'll be people who have tried him out, and his ability, by the way, don't shit on his ability. His ability is good. It's very suppressive to those troop heavy builds or Raven Guard, Night Lords. It always has been. It's always been a good counter to that. Early game, it really limits them being able to play troops. That's great. Late game, when your opponent can play 2 or 3 troops on just one side, and limits your damage ability, that's a different story. And that's really where the World Eaters in general kind of tend to fall apart if they're not playing face. So if they're relying on troops. But I think we're moving. They're looking at him, and that's good. I'll take that. I'll take that as a win. And last but not least, the Night Lords. And when I say the Night Lords, first off, really what I'm talking about is Flaymaster Mawdrym. Now, initially, he had starts with an extra card. He no longer has that. He no longer has starts with an extra card. He now instead has this relentless deal 1 damage to damaged enemy troops, which over the course of the long game, that's not bad. It's not great against a opponent who is not playing troops like Angron, but it is good against just about anybody else who is playing troops, because if they've got that 3 attack troop, right, that 3 health troop, and they attack Mawdrym, and it's got 1 health left, well, it's gone. It's no good at the start of your turn. He kills it. It's out of here. So their ability to keep troops out there is going to make a difference. And I mean, to kind of go with that, it's very interesting because his ability is really great against non-attacking warlords. He's still only got 30 health. Don't get me wrong. And his health is his weakness. But against Angron, he's just basically paying 2 to shut Angron down. And Angron's only going to be able to rely on his fast troops and his tactics to do damage, while Flaymaster can just shut Angron down and build a board. So that's a good tool. That's a very good tool, and I'm kind of intrigued by that. But best of all, he gets an initiative bump. He was low initiative, which I think was proper. I mean, as much as people hate it, his ability, being able to take that out right out the get-go and shut down on a coin flip, he can right out the gate shut down an Angron. It's unfair. Be prepared for a lot of people who were playing Angron and Karn to start crying foul because Mawdrym is getting played and wins the coin flip and who starts the game. Just be prepared for that. It's going to happen. And gradually those voices will bubble and get louder because the sour lingers in people's mouths. But I think it's a very good change. It's really the change a lot of people wanted. You can't always give the people what they want. How does that song go? Wait a minute. Thank you. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. And I think, kind of bringing that full circle, in conjunction with Mawdrym, Ambassador Melgator's buff, and this is just one troop, and there's probably another 5 or 6 others. I could throw this out there, but in addition to Ambassador Melgator's adjustment, if you will, he got an attitude adjustment. That's what he got. He got an attitude adjustment. These guys here, this card is brutal, and because Melgator was the biggest threat to Curse's Chosen, aside from hard removal, aside from a direct outflank, win of the week or whatever it is, whatever you want to have you, Ambassador Melgator was the biggest thing who could negate what Curse's Chosen was throwing down on the table. He can no longer be Melgator with his 7 attack. He's immune to that. But what's even better is it's a double-edged sword, because you'll notice he's got the ability to give enemy troops -2/-0. What that means is that Melgator has a broader range in the Night Lords, not just because of Curse's Chosen. Now, don't make no mistake, but also because of cards like Terror Tactics, also because of cards like good old, even comboing it up with my favorite, Tynock Terror Squad, or Curse's ability. Melgator gets extra mileage in the Night Lords, which I think is very interesting. I mean, how are you going to get rid of the Curse's Chosen if he shuts all your troops down to a 0 to 1 attack, and your Goldstones are 1 attack, and your Voraxes are 1 attack, even your Volturax, which you got to throw the whole body out there, is only going to do 4. Curse's Chosen is going to be brutal. And if you are playing against the Night Lords, henceforth, when you play against the Night Lords, the Lords of Night, save a hard removal for that card. You're going to have to eat it some other way, unless you think you've got the game, because that guy's going to come out, and your bad day's over. Your bad day's over because your game is over. People are going to complain. There's other things that they can complain about. Don't get me wrong. Again, Argus Brond, right? This guy, Argus Brond, is going to get nasty because he can get pumped up. But Curse's Chosen can flank Argus Brond with recon talent, or they can just make Argus Brond really weak right out the gate. He's a 2 attack. Oh, he doubled? I wonder if he doubles with his reduction. Does he go from a 2 to a 4, or does he go from a 2 to a 4? Or does he go from a 2 to a 6? Because 8 minus 2. I don't know. Well, time will tell. We'll find out. We'll find out how that goes. But, I mean, that's just strong. That's strong. Mawdryn, he's got some interesting use there. Very interesting use. And, I mean, if you really want to give stealth, I wouldn't. I don't think you need to. I think that there's better cards for that. But gosh, you know, copper mode gets some extra mileage with Mawdryn, because now they attack. You're dealing 2 damage to a random enemy, which may or may not be a warlord. But then at the start of your turn, guess what? 1 extra damage to whatever troop is still hanging out there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to upping the Mawdryn deck and trying them out way more than I am looking forward to playing with Darr. But I'm definitely looking forward to playing several Emperor's Children's decks. Guys, these are some good updates. They're very interesting updates. They're very relevant updates. A lot of people might be still complaining about the Psyker energy pool. Whatever. Deal with it. Get over it. It's not ruining the game. What's ruining the game is people's inability to try new things. I said it. That's it. That's me taking a stance. Try new things. Right out the gate, from this one single update, you've got at least 3 new deck options: Fulgrim, Mawdryn, and Darr. Now, Darr's, whatever, you can play with them and see how you like them, but really, those neutrals change all sorts of decks, and the Emperor's Children cards in general change not just Fulgrim. They change Fulgrim, they change Lucius, they change Bile, they change Tarvitz. The whole range is opened up, instead of it just being the same old cookie cutter perfection stuff, or cookie cutter key 3-4 drop troops. Now you've got some very interesting 5 and up cost decisions to make. So we're really going to see some variety here. We're really going to see some cards that I think work well. There are some questions I've got with regards to like the Ogryns, how that works out, and definitely with regards to like how much in general we're going to go to big troop games, because whoever has the biggest baddest troop at the end wins type thing, or whoever saved that pinch hard removal card. Melgator is really going to be just as good, if not better. Sorry, I know time will tell, but I don't think I'm going to regret putting him in most of my decks, especially that early mid game where that's just enough. 5 energy, I can play him and play a troop. I can play him, play a tactic. Who knows what? And then really, I mean, Catacombs of Tizca kind of pulls some steam out from Exodus, Alfarius, even Magnus, decks. So some good stuff there. Some good stuff. Just a good mix up in general. I really like it. I'm a little miffed that the Shabran Darr upgrade kind of faltered there out the gate for within the first hour, and hopefully they get a better look at that, adjust it, change it, and put something else back on the field for all of us to use. But overall, a very good update, very good changes to the game, and I think it's going to make it interesting, at least for another month, until we get into either the next patch prior to whatever the next expansion is. We've got a Q&A on September 11th. So if you are not if you're not on the Discord and you want to partake in the Q&A, get on Discord and get on there. I think roughly they start about 10 o'clock. 10 a.m., 11 a.m. They've got the times listed, and they'll open it up, and then they take questions from the public, and depending on how good the questions are, we might get some information on them. We might find out if they're looking into retooling yet again the Shabran Darr because of the way it is. We might find out some release date information. That doesn't happen too often. I'm just saying that doesn't. Some things we can get answers for, and some things we can't. But it's a good exercise. It's a good way to make sure that the developers have still got a finger on the pulse of the game, which I think they do. I think in regards to, especially to answering some of these, some of the outcries from people for Fulgrim's Whispers, Discipline, which took forever to get updated. Even Melgator, Catacombs of Tizca. I mean, these are Flaymaster Mawdrym, Shabran Darr, whether you like it or not, they're listening. They hear these things, and they're taking action, and I think that's good for the game. So, I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about it, and I'm looking forward to getting some games in and testing some decks out. So, with that being said, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to try to get this up here and try to get this out and relevant. And I wish you all good games, good testing stuff out, see what works, make some adjustments. Guys, use your deck slots. You know, don't just build one deck. Build 2 or 3 decks to try out and see if you like some cards. Put in some high cost cards. Try that Macer Varen if you really want to, or just try Eidolon, you know, or Curse's Chosen, or Grolger. I mean, pick your big baddies. Oh yeah, Melgahurst, he's coming back in. He's coming. Melgahurst is coming back, and people are not going to be happy about that. Get ready. Get ready. Death Shroud. Mortarion might lose, Catacombs, but his Death Shroud is a little bit better protected. Oh, it's time. It's time. All right, guys. That's it. That's it for me. Keep playing Legions. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. All right, that wraps it up for me. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. Add any comments below. And if you think the video might be useful or the series might be useful, feel free to share that with other players that you know as well. And we'll talk to you later.